Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. This was broadcast originally January 13th, 1955, Harry Bartell, starring in an episode entitled Final Payment.
And now, tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, the story of a perfect fraud that succeeded only too well. It's called Final Payment. So now, starring Harry Bartell with Peter Leeds, here is tonight's suspense play, Final Payment.
Silence in the courtroom. There's another outbreak such as this, I'll order the courtroom cleared.
Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. Sheridan?
I'd like to request a 30-minute recess. I assure you, Your Honor, we were certainly not prepared for anything like this.
I understand, Mr. Sheridan. And in view of the unusual circumstances, I grant your request. This court is recessed and will reconvene in 30 minutes.
All right. What's everybody staring at me for? What's wrong? You can't possibly suspect a thing. Not a thing. But maybe... Was there something we missed? Something we didn't think about? The day it started, Chicago. The day I ran into Sam at the lunch counter. Maybe there was something then. Maybe that's when we made a mistake.
Gee, Joe, it sure's been a long time, hasn't it?
10 years. You know, it doesn't seem that long. Hey, what happened to you after the Italian campaign? One day you were there, the next day gone.
Well, I was shipped back to the States and then out to the Philippines.
Did you see any action?
Oh, some. A little.
You're not saying you haven't changed a bit. Put on a little weight, maybe.
Haven't we all? And some gray hair.
Oh, I'm a lot grayer than you.
Well, maybe I haven't got as many worries as you have.
I guess you live right.
I guess I do. Oh, you married, Joe?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple of kids.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm working with a construction gang right now. It isn't what I want, but it'll do.
Well, temporarily, you mean?
Yeah.
Got to keep the family eating, huh?
Sure do.
Bet it gets rough sometimes.
Yeah, sometime.
It takes a lot of sweat to keep a family these days.
You got a family, Sam?
Oh, no, but I know the problems.
Hey, what are you doing in Chicago? You live here?
No, just passing through.
What kind of work you doing?
Well, Joe, right now, let's just say I'm in between jobs. Actually, Joe, I'm looking for a partner.
A partner?
Mm-hmm. A partner to split a profit of $100,000 with me.
100?
Say, Joe, I'll tell you what. I'm going to be in town for another couple of days. Look, here's the phone number of the hotel where I'm staying. You know, it never occurred to me, but you might be interested in hearing about this deal.
Sam, I don't have an old spare tennis shoe. I couldn't invest in a business.
Joe, I said I'm looking for a partner to split $100,000 with. I didn't say anything about investing money. If you're interested, give me a call, huh?
Maybe it was the night I called Sam at his hotel. I remember I called him right after work. And then I'd called Mary. Told her I'd met a friend and wouldn't be home for dinner. Then there was that bar over on Halsted where we met. Maybe somebody in there remembered.
It's a new twist on an old racket, Joe. A guy who pretends he's hurt, only he isn't.
The insurance companies are wise, Sam. You never get away with it.
Wait. Now, first I gotta know if you're interested, Joe. First I gotta know that. Then I'll tell you the twist. Well?
Yeah, all right, I'm interested.
Good. Now, this is the way it works. You and the family move to a small town. You buy yourself a moderately cheap car. Get a job. You live there a couple of months and you call on the insurance agent of a big company. You take out a small policy. A couple of months later, you increase this policy to $100,000 liability. In the meantime, I arrive in the same town, take up residence. Now we both live there, maybe on the opposite sides of the town. You still with me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Then one day, a year later, I step off the curb at a certain intersection. You're driving home from work. You hit me.
Hit you?
Yeah. I dodged a lot of tanks in Italy, but somehow I can't dodge the right fender of your car. I tell you to forget about it. You do. You don't even bother to tell the insurance company about it because I seem like such a nice guy. Only I'm not a nice guy because a couple of weeks later, I got you in court, and I'm suing you for $200,000. You know, Joe, I figure by the time we settle, it'll be an even $100,000.
But when the insurance company
It'll
finds
be too late.
I don't get it, Sam. They'll fight it.
Oh, sure. They'll have some notice before, and they'll come to you and give you a big thing on how they're going to fight this case.
That's what I mean.
And you, Joe, you're going to cooperate with them 100%.
But then
And now the twist. It takes place the day you go under cross-examination.
About it, I'd have understood, but my gosh, she just stood there like a... Oh, no,
You go under cross-examination. You're going to break down and confess it was your fault.
Confess? But Sam...
Joe, the worst you can get is maybe a charge of criminal negligence. Maybe a fine, your driver's license suspended for a year. But it's worth 50 G's, isn't it?
It's crazy.
So crazy it could come off. Well, Joe, $50,000.
You know, if I thought for 1 minute...
What can go wrong?
I don't know. I gotta talk this over with Mary.
Oh, no. No, you don't talk this over with anyone. You understand me? No one. You're the only one besides myself that knows. We can't afford to take a chance, Joe. Not even on your wife.
But if I just pick up stakes and take off of some small jerkwater town, Mary's gonna
Make
want
up
to know...
some excuse. It doesn't matter anything. Better climate for the kids. You want to get ahead? Well, what do you say?
All right. Count me in. When I told Mary what I decided to do about the move and all, she raised some questions, but that was the end of it. I took the few dollars we had in the savings account and bought a cheap car. And a week later, we piled our belongings into it and headed for a small town in Indiana. Sam picked this town in Indiana because a big insurance company had a local office there. I got a job with a machine shop. The pay wasn't high, but it kept us in food and clothes, and there was enough left over to make payments on the insurance policy I'd taken out. 3 months later, I called the insurance agent and told him I wanted to increase my liability policy to $100,000. Was it then? Was there some slip-up that night Mr. Hirsch came to the house? Did something happen then?
Well, Mr. Thurston, I think we've got everything. All you do now is just sign right here.
Here you are, Mr. Hirsch.
Well, that does it, Joe. You're all set.
Sure makes me feel a lot better.
I'm sure it does. Well, I guess I'll be on my way.
I want to thank you very much, Mr. Hirsch.
Oh, my pleasure.
Wouldn't have been then. There wasn't anything. Then one day on a coffee break at a little cafeteria, I noticed someone out of the corner of my eye. He sat down on a stool next to me.
Hi, kid.
Sam.
I got in town about a week ago. How's everything going, Joe?
Fine.
You keeping up the payments on the policy?
Yeah?
Good. I'll contact you again right before we're ready to pull it off.
6 months passed. 6 months of waiting. I got a promotion at the machine shop. Mary seemed real happy. But every day I waited for some word from Sam. Maybe something had gone wrong. And then one night I went to a union meeting. I sat and listened to the guys discuss plans for the company's annual picnic. Then we took 5 for a smoke.
Pardon me, mister. You got a light?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. The time's ripe, Joe.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Now listen carefully and get this in your head.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Day after tomorrow, 5:15 at the corner of 3rd Avenue and Wabash Boulevard.
Yeah.
I'll be on the southeast corner. I've clocked you the last week. You hit the corner at 5:15 exactly. Remember that?
5:15, corner of 3rd Avenue, Wabash Boulevard. You'll be on the southeast corner. I got it.
Good. Now go on home, buddy. The next time I see you, we're going to have an accident. An accident worth $50,000.
You are listening to Final Payment, tonight's presentation in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
January 13th, 1955, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater.
You know, if you feel like you're stuck with a health care plan you don't like, right now is a great time to switch to MediShare. They'll waive your new member fee if you join by January 15th. So that's $170 in addition to all the other savings. The typical family saves $500 or more per month. And MediShare has double the customer satisfaction rate when compared to health insurance. Double. Again, join by January 15th and save even more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
Thanks for tuning into Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. Radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, January 13th, 1955.
And now we bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Harry Bartell and Peter Leeds, starring in tonight's production of Final Payment, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Got to think. I gotta go back over everything to remember if there was a slip. I gotta remember. The instructions. Sam gave me the instructions that night at the union meeting. I memorized them. I know I did. Thursday was like a nightmare. Could hardly concentrate on what I was doing at work. All day long I was nervous. Then it was 5 to 5. Time to wash up and get moving. Punched my time card, put it back in the rack, walked out to my car in a parking lot and started. I drove east on Wabash Boulevard. My watch said 5:13. Traffic was light. 3rd Avenue was 6 long blocks away. My hands were so wet from perspiration I could hardly grip the steering wheel of the car. I kept in the right-hand lane. 4 blocks away. Kept the car going slow. Then I had to stop for the light at the corner of 4th Avenue. Looked at my watch again. It was 5:14. The light changed. I moved ahead. I was just supposed to keep driving. And then I saw him, standing alone on the curb at the corner of 3rd. He stepped off. I didn't see him. Is he hurt bad? Is he going to be all right?
No,
Somebody please call an ambulance, quick! Gee, mister, I'm sorry. I'm awful sorry.
No, there. Hey, I can stand up. There's no broken bones. I guess I'm okay, fella. Just shook up a bit. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, sure, but you ought to see it.
Now, look, I'm okay. See?
The cop came. He took our names. No one had actually seen the accident, so there were no witnesses. We both told the cop that we didn't know who was wrong. Then the ambulance arrived, and they took Sam down to the emergency hospital for a general checkup. He said he had a headache. He made it look good and sound good. My car hadn't even touched his head. When I got home, I told Mary about the accident.
Accident? Where, Joe?
Down the corner of 3rd Avenue, Wabash Boulevard.
What happened?
Some guy stepped off the curb and didn't bother to look where he was going. Stepped right in front of the car.
Oh, Joe.
Now, don't worry, honey. I guess I'm lucky. Guy wasn't even hurt. Shook up a bit, that's about all.
But, Joe, you never can tell. Did you get his name and address?
Look, honey. I said never mind about it. It's all taken care of. The police were there. There isn't a thing to worry about.
But I do worry about it, Joe. Did you get in touch with the insurance company?
The insurance company? What for? I didn't even scratch a paint on the car.
Oh, that isn't what I meant. I mean about if he should suddenly find something wrong and then he'd sue you or...
Oh, don't be silly, honey. I told you he was a real nice guy. He told me to forget it.
Well, you never can tell about these things.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm going to call the man from the insurance company.
I said to forget it. Do you hear me?
Joe, I don't understand.
I'm sorry, honey. It's just... Look, the guy was a nice guy. He knows it was his fault. He's not going to cause me any trouble. Let's have dinner, huh? I'm hungry.
All right, Joe. We'll forget it if you say so.
A week later, the insurance company got served with the papers. Sam filed a suit against me for $200,000. Naturally, as soon as the insurance company received the papers, they called me on the telephone. They were upset. Real upset.
I just wish you'd called us when it happened, Mr. Thurston. You made a big mistake by not calling us.
Yeah, I know, Mr. Hirsch. I guess I ought to have my head examined. My wife told me to call. I guess I should have. But you see, when it happened, he seemed like such a nice guy. He told me not to worry about it. Even when the ambulance carried him away, he told me to forget it.
Well, sure. That's an old trick. A lot of them pull it.
What do you mean, an old trick?
Well, a lot of people try to beat the insurance companies that way. You'd be surprised.
Well, what's going to happen?
Well, I think we got a good case. We've got no witnesses, but then neither has he. The police report gives a pretty comprehensive picture of the thing, the way it was reported. So, in the final analysis, it's your word against his.
Yeah, I see. Well, that's good, isn't it?
Well, it means we've got at least a 50-50 chance, maybe better. You see, when they got him to the hospital, he put up a big fuss about being examined. Why? Unless he'd already figured cashing in on this thing. Things like that make me suspicious, Mr. Thurston. Very suspicious.
The lawyers got together and agreed on an early date for the trial. The attorney for the insurance company, a Mr. Sheridan, met with me a number of times to make me go over and over the details of the accident. And then the day of the case arrived. According to Sam, I was supposed to break down and confess it was my fault while I was being cross-examined. And Sam didn't show up in court. His attorney said he'd been indisposed, but he would deliver the brief without his client's presence. And that kind of upset me. I depended on Sam to be there to give me reassurance.
All right, Mr. Thurston, now in your own words, tell the court what happened on that day.
Well,
Go ahead, take your time.
Well, I was driving home from work. I was going maybe 30 miles an hour, or maybe a couple of miles one way or the other.
You were driving home?
Yes, sir, and I was in the right-hand lane. And this fella, Mr. Monroe, he stepped off the curb and right into the path of my car.
He stepped into the path of your car?
Yes, sir, that's right. I guess he wasn't looking.
Is that all?
Yes, sir. That's all.
Your witness?
Any cross-examination, Mr. Green?
Yes, sir.
Proceed.
Now, Mr. Thurston, I have a few questions I'd like to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Try to answer these questions as honestly as you can.
I object, Your Honor. That is not...
Objection sustained.
Now, according to your earlier testimony, Mr. Thurston, you were going east on Wabash, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thurston, do you know if there is a stop signal at the corner of 3rd Avenue and Wabash Boulevard, the intersection where the accident occurred?
Yes, sir. I think there is.
There is. Mr. Thurston, do you remember if the light was green or red as you approached the corner?
I think it was green.
I see. Now, according to your testimony, you said you saw Mr. Monroe step off...
No, sir, excuse me. I didn't see him. I mean, I kind of saw him, and yet
Mr. Thurston, you either saw him or you didn't. Now, which is it? Or perhaps you can explain to the court how you can kind of see a person step off.
Well, what I meant to say...
Either you saw him or you didn't. Which is it, Mr. Thurston?
Well,
May I remind you that you are under solemn oath to tell the truth. Is it possible you didn't see him and the light had turned red, Mr. Thurston? Is that the way it was, yes or no?
No. No, I didn't see him.
What did you say, Mr. Thurston?
I didn't see him. I said I didn't see him.
Why didn't you see him, Mr. Thurston? Where were your eyes when they should have been watching the street in front of you while you were driving? Where were your eyes, Mr. Thurston?
Well, I don't know.
Yes, you do.
Some serious cross-examination. Radio's outstanding theater of thrills Suspense from 1940 until 1962. One of the last, in fact, the last, old-time radio show. Classic Radio Theater continues on your favorite station. Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO of MyPillow, wants to give back to listeners. You can get great discounts on all MyPillow products if you go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener special. Deep discounts on all MyPillow products, like the buy one, get one free special on Giza Dream Sheets. All MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. Call 1-800-951-8175 or go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener special. Use my promo code USA. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. Now the conclusion of Suspense, Final Payment, starring Harry Bartell, from January 13th, 1955.
You know very well where they were. Now tell us, on the light? On the traffic in front of you? They couldn't have been on the light. You told us yourself you didn't know whether the light was green or red. You said you didn't see the plaintiff. Well, then where were your eyes?
Well, somewhere else, I guess.
Where, Mr. Thurston? You tell us where.
I buy a paper every night. It was on the seat next to me. Maybe for just a second I took my eyes off the road and looked down at the paper.
You took your eyes off the road to look down at the newspaper on the seat beside you. And it was during that time that the light changed to red. The plaintiff stepped off the curb and you hit him. Am I right, Mr. Thurston? Isn't that the way it was?
Yes, that's what happened. I didn't see him. I didn't mean it.
I can't hear you, Mr. Thurston. Speak up.
I didn't see him. I didn't mean it. That's what happened. It was my fault, but I couldn't help it. I swear I couldn't. Nothing. There wasn't a slip in the whole setup. It was perfect. I know it was. Now the recess is over. Everybody's against me. I can feel it. Even Mary. But she'll understand. I know she'll understand.
Your Honor, I'm sure you realize that under the circumstances of what has just happened, the defense would like to request a stay on the verdict at this time. We would like to probe a little more thoroughly into what to us appears to be a definite reversal of opinion on the part of the defendant. Something...
Your Honor, if I may interrupt.
Mr. Green?
Your Honor, his request may not be necessary in view of some news I've just received.
Well, this is highly irregular.
My client's absence in this courtroom has been most conspicuous. I can now tell you the reason. This morning, he was rushed to the Veterans Hospital. I've received some news from the hospital. He suffered a severe brain concussion when he fell. His head struck the pavement. Your Honor, my client died an hour ago.
No. No, Sam didn't die. It's a trick. You're lying. He couldn't have died. I didn't hit him that hard. You're lying to try to trick me. Now, that isn't the way you had it planned. He wasn't hurt. He said he wasn't. This isn't the way it was going to be! I'm waiting for another trial. My trial. Manslaughter. I shouldn't be here. This isn't the way it was going to be. Sam didn't tell me he had a steel plate in his head.
Suspense, in which Harry Bartell and Peter Leeds starred in Dick Petticini and Phil Cole's Final Payment. Next week, the story of a man who insisted upon finishing the murder he had never committed. We call it The Case History of a Murderer. That's next week on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Anthony Ellis. The music was composed by Lucian Morowick and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Featured in the cast were Vivi Janis, Barney Phillips, Victor Rodman, John Larch, and Byron Kane.
January 13th, 1955. Suspense on Classic Radio Theater. Bob Bailey and yours truly, Johnny Dollar, up next.
What does it mean to be an American? Just what are our American values? Working hard to succeed, loving God, country, and family, being honest, strong, and compassionate.
Supporting our Constitution and recognizing that we are blessed to be living in America, the greatest country in the world.
Our Bill of Rights protects us, our freedoms of worship, speech, and privacy, our right to own firearms, our right to trial by jury.
Our right to be free, to live our own lives without some bureaucrat telling us what to do. Most countries don't have these rights.
Want to know more? It's all there in the book. Get your own free book, The U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Then read it again, and this time share it with your friends. Our great Constitution is the basis of all of our freedoms, our inalienable rights. Get your own copy at freeusbook.com.
Brought to you by the American Media Council.
Now on Classic Radio Theater, the conclusion of the 5-part yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Todd Matter. This episode originally broadcast January 13th, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Hi, baby. Dan Mapes. Glad they gave you a telephone in your room.
Yeah, that's the only thing good about it.
Well, hospitals are designed to make a man impatient. You're a pretty lucky fella at that. Let me tell you about your operation.
Yeah, please do.
You stopped 2 slugs. They pried one out of your neck and another one out of your rib cage. Missed your heart by a snake's whisker.
I was luckier than Gloria Tierney.
Yeah, yes you were. I'm on my way up to see you. Don't run out on me.
Oh, fat chance.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to 4-State Insurance Company, Wilmington, Delaware. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Todd Matter. Expense account item 11, $3.05, breakfast. I got mad at the nurse when she brought in a bowl of hot cereal and a glass of milk. So I bribed an orderly to slip across the street and get me a tray of bacon and eggs. I was just finishing same when up came Sergeant Mapes. He looked haggard and tired and worried.
You nearly got it for good, baby.
I got enough of it.
You sure did. What do you remember, if anything?
Well, we tailed Melva Charles to an apartment house. We stepped inside, and somebody began trying to kill me, and that's when I left town.
Yeah, it was quite a mess. Coroner had a real job in his hands.
Yeah. Hey, how about you?
Not a scratch.
Coroner, did you say?
Yeah. Melva Charles got it. Her husband stuffed a butcher knife in her back.
Oh.
That was for trying to sell him out to you.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he thought he was worth more than $2,500.
Maybe. A man named Henderson, who happened to be walking down the hall at the wrong minute, took 3 in the head. He was dead before he hit the floor. Woman on the street got hit, not too bad. 2 people outside, just getting into a car, got cut up pretty bad when bullets smashed their windshield. You keeping track of all this?
I'm trying to. This all happened after we got there, huh?
Yeah. You see, when you and I walked in there, William Charles had just finished killing his wife. He saw us and began pumping. You got hit, and I pumped back at him.
You get him?
Yeah, but not till he had shot up everybody else. He's on the floor above you, hanging on by a hair. He knew his ticket was up, and he just didn't care. It's my fault you're here, baby. I'd have rather cut off my arm than get you in on this.
What do you mean?
Well, tagging you and going after her. I didn't use my head.
You know what?
What?
I still think you're a pretty good copper, Mapes.
Thanks, Johnny. Here, I brought you a book of poetry.
Poetry?
Read. Take it easy. We'll be talking again soon.
I felt awful. Sergeant Mapes dropped in later that afternoon, but I was half asleep. Vaguely, I remember they wheelchaired me down the hall for x-rays and lab tests. Expense account item 12, 10 cents, the morning paper. The story of the shooting was splashed all over page 1, and the solution to the Gloria Tierney killing in part. Slugs from William Charles' gun were matched with those that had killed Gloria Tierney. No mention was made of any loot from the Todd burglary being found in the Charles apartment. Between back rubs and sleeping pills, I worried about that. I didn't worry too much about the fact that William Charles, killer, gunman, burglar, was dying in the room directly above me. About midnight, Mapes showed up with a wheelchair.
There we are. Now, you all ready to go up and see what he has to say?
Yeah, sure, I guess so. I still have to finish my job.
Let's take it easy now.
All right. Hey, weak. Busy.
That won't last long. There. Now, here we go, baby.
It was the second time within a week I'd been in a hospital room with a dying person. The first one had been a young and beautiful woman who had been shot by the man who now lay dying of police bullets.
What'd they say?
You know what they say, Charles. You haven't got a prayer.
I didn't mean to kill Gloria. I didn't mean it at all. I want you to know that.
You took a lot of pains to do it. I was there, remember?
Yeah, I remember. Sorry. Been doing pretty good with those house jobs. Todd Place, another one in St. Louis. Doing all right. Enough to buy a nice car, live in a decent place, get around a little bit. Worked all alone. Met her. I liked her, wanted to marry her. I did. Really did.
You already had a wife.
You think I'm kidding? I gave her a mink coat, didn't I? Thought that it'd cinch. She didn't want to take it. Told me she was going to marry some other guy. Some guy she'd been married to before. I got mad. I came back that night, let her have it.
At all?
Yeah, that's all. That's it. That's it, mister. You take it or leave it.
How did you meet her?
Mutual friend.
What friend?
None of your business.
All right, this is my business. Where's the rest of the stuff?
What stuff?
The stuff you took from the Todd place. Where have you got it? Oh, what's funny?
You think I'd tell you that?
Oh, what's the difference now? Come on, what's the difference now?
Oh, it's a laugh, kiddo. You know what? I'd die before I tell you.
He died, and he didn't tell me. Not a word. Later, a private ambulance took me from police emergency hospital to my hotel room. 3 days after that, I was able to get back on my feet. I went right down to Mapes' office at headquarters.
How do you feel?
Better now.
Boy, you sure look lousy. Here, sit down, baby.
All right, thanks.
Should you be out of bed?
Yeah, sure.
You're lying and you know it.
I suppose so. Well, how's it going?
You mean have we located the rest of the stuff? No, not a lick of it. Funny guy, wasn't he?
He had his last laugh.
Well, you shouldn't be worrying about this stuff now. You ought to be taking care of yourself.
I am. I'm sitting here helping you worry.
I'm not worried about anything.
You're worried about the same thing I am. Where's all the rest of the Todd stuff?
Well, it'll turn up somewhere.
Why, Mr. Dollar.
Hello, Mrs. Stromberg.
I read about what happened to you in the papers. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, well, I'm better now.
Well, come in, please.
Thanks.
Say, you'd better sit down, Mr. Dollar. I'll get you a cup of coffee.
Do you have any bourbon?
Why, yes, I think
All right,
so.
I'll take that.
Well, all right. Is water okay?
Yeah, sure, fine.
Should you be out of bed, Mr. Dollar?
You know, everybody asks that. No, I shouldn't, and yet I should.
Well, here you are.
Oh, thanks. Well, here's cheers. Remember the night Gloria was shot?
Of course, very well.
You know, I've been worried about that night.
Huh?
Uh-huh. Remember I came over here and I told you I was in the insurance business and you said you'd have her call me when she came in?
Yes.
Well, I remember pretty clearly you said you'd have her call me when she came in, not if you saw her come in.
Yes, did I?
Uh-huh. You saw to it that she called me, Mrs. Stromberg. You also saw to it that she wasn't here to meet me when I got here. She was out there somewhere. Because by then you knew I was an insurance investigator.
I don't understand you, Mr. Dollar. What are you trying to say?
You sent her out so he could take care of her. And you were waiting in the hall for me.
Waiting for you? Why, no, I happened to see you, and I wondered
You wondered what kind of cock and bull story you could give me to get rid of me.
That's silly.
They sound that way. That's a good drink. But not so silly if you knew that coat she was wearing was stolen and that I was after it and her.
How would I possibly know that?
Because you introduced her to one of your friends one night and he went overboard for her? And eventually he gave her that little present?
Are you saying that I had anything to do with Gloria's trouble?
Yeah.
Why, that's silly.
Oh, here's something sillier. A small-time burglar and thief lay on a hospital bed yesterday and wouldn't tell me how he met Gloria Tierney. Oh, he was a real gallant one, this bird. He killed an innocent girl because she was wearing a mink coat and might tell me who gave it to her.
Mr. Dollar.
He shot up 2 or 3 people in an apartment, including me. He got shot himself. He knew he was dying. But a simple thing like telling me how he met her wouldn't come out. He wouldn't tell me that for anything. Now, where could he meet her? Was he her kind? Did he go in the same circles? Did he? Nah. He was introduced by a mutual friend, Mrs. Stromberg. You, the manager of the apartment house.
No.
Something else he wouldn't tell me. What happened to the rest of the loot from the Todd burglary? 2 things he wouldn't tell me. He didn't have to when I sat down and thought it out. You've been working with him right along. You've been keeping all the stuff here.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Not so fantastic at all, Mrs. Stromberg, when you think that his wife, and she was a girl who'd do anything for money, they tell me, was willing to sell him to me for $2,500. $2,500, when there's still over $60,000 worth of loot from the Todd burglary lying around. She didn't know where it was. But you do, Mrs. Stromberg.
Well, if you say I do, I do. Now what?
Let's go down to Sergeant Mapes.
Oh, no,
I'd like a good excuse to use this.
Yes. Suppose you would. If I can't charm you or plead with you, can I buy you?
You could have prevented her death. You practically ordered it.
What is it you want?
You. Behind bars.
You're silly, but I'll go.
For a while, it did look silly. Mapes and his men searched the apartment house from top to bottom and found no trace of the Todd loot. That is, until they found a movable cement block in the basement. Well, the Todd matter ended with a 90% recovery of the stolen items. About $70,000 in dollars and cents. In lives, Gloria Tierney, 1 innocent bystander, and William Charles. For me, let's see. Expense account item 14, $162.30. Hotel and board while in New York. Item 15, $17.40. Airfare and incidentals back to Hartford. Item 18, $230. Miscellaneous. Expense account total, $1,095. Remarks, nil. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Remember, there'll be another intriguing story for you beginning next Monday night.
Next week, a music lesson on a priceless Amati violin. Music and mystery and danger. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in this week's cast were Vivi Janis, Barbara Fuller, Shirley Mitchell, Lawrence Dobkin, Frank Gerstle, and Marvin Miller. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Be sure to join us on Monday night, same time and station, for another exciting story of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This is Roy Rowan speaking.
You know, we always said the butler did it. One of the few cases where the landlady did it. January 13th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar on Classic Radio Theater. We want to thank so many of you who have come and visited our webpage at classicradio.stream to learn more about classic radio collecting, to contact me there. We've gotten a number of nice emails in the last little bit here, and you can contact us there, classicradio.stream. You can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter there, classicradio.stream. Don't forget that our shows are always available through classicradio.stream and also through so many podcast apps, including Apple Podcast, also through Spotify and Spreaker. Just search for USA Classic Radio Theater. If you miss a day, you don't have to miss a show. Please take a moment to thank this radio station and support their advertisers. It is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. And tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater right here on your favorite radio station.